Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Just set up my camera here so you can see me. I think that'll work as we get started. All right. Welcome. Welcome to Shining Waters Yoga. I just want to make sure, okay, everything is going. Volume is good. Okay. Welcome to this morning's practice. This is going to be a grounding practice. You could really do it any time of day. It will live on my YouTube channel, but it's really specifically for the morning. It's also for grounding anxiety. This will be a great practice for those of you suffering from insomnia. If you've been up all night, sometimes we then get up and there's that feeling of being exhausted, but also the energy of the mind is just very scattered and all over the place. And when you think about it, it's very similar to the energy of anxiety. So both of those are what we would consider vata disorders, which I won't get too into. That's a whole other discussion. But so we want to call that energy back into the body and be able to ground ourselves. So that's where we're going to start today. We're also going to open the body and bring some energy in, which is nice for another issue that many of us struggle with, depression. So we will be opening up and uplifting ourselves as well throughout this practice, but we're going to start with grounding. That being said, you don't need any special props for this practice. If you have blocks and you like to practice with them, certainly you can use them. If you have a blanket, sometimes it's nice to use a blanket to sit on or to support our head when we lie back in Shavasana. So you can have those nearby if you have them. If not, no worries. Remember that as we start this practice, and I'll be giving different modifications for different bodies, also you are welcome to experiment as we go along. Everything I offer you today is an invitation. Please be mindful of how it feels in your own body. Take your time moving, exploring the movement. Anything that's a contraindication for you, of course, skip. As you explore movement, maybe you take a smaller movement. Maybe you move slower than me. Maybe you stop and you go back to a previous movement. Or stay in a position longer if you want to hold it. This is your practice, so please make it your own. Honor your body. We all have different bodies. So from the size of our torso, right, the length of our torso, the length of our legs, whether we have long arms or shorter arms, how the pelvis sits in the body is different on all of us. If we have narrow hips or wider hips. So the postures that we do in yoga are going to look different on different bodies. There's no one way of looking in yoga. So just throw that away and get comfortable in your own body. And maybe make just an intention to honor your body this morning, where it is on your journey, respecting your own I don't even want to say limitations, but if you've got old injuries, scar tissue, if you're dealing with a present injury, honor your body, honor where you are on your journey. And maybe today, if you get nothing else out of this practice, you just tune in and feel your body, because many of us don't even do that. Oh, I've got Sheba here, my buddy in the background. Seems to be having a little issue here, so let me just check on her real quick. All right. It's gonna just be there for moral support this morning. All right, so without further ado, I'm gonna start this morning in Vajrasana. The hero posture, just sitting, kneeling. Again, if knee flexion is not good for you where you are, maybe you want to start seated in a chair, but we're going to start with some breath work and with the mudra. So again, I'm offering this If you want to do something different, you can. I'm going to start with Abaya Varada Mudra. So the left hand is slightly cupped and it's placed right below the navel. You can even sit it in your lap. And the right hand is also cupped facing forward. And the elbow's close to the body, so we're not creating any strain here in the shoulder and the elbow. And this is a mudra for fearlessness. So thinking about just cultivating a safe place in your own body where you are right now. However you're sitting, whether in a chair or if you're sitting in Vajrasana, feel your sitting bones. Feel all the points of contact between your body and the earth. Feel your spine lifting up from the tailbone all the way to the crown, cultivating a tall, long spine as much as you're able to. And again, maybe you don't feel like you have a long spine if you have issues with scoliosis, but just finding your tallest seat and then softening through your shoulders, feeling that connection with the ground. Anytime you like throughout this practice, feel free to close your eyes if that helps you go inward and sense and feel your body. And if you don't like closing your eyes, you can also keep the eyes open. So it's really up to you what helps you feel this practice and be more present in your own body. And maybe just take a few breaths to notice how you're starting your practice today. How do you feel in the body? How do you feel in the mind? How's your breath and your level of energy this morning? And if you're holding this mudra, maybe even just noticing what it evokes within you. How does it feel? If it's not comfortable, you might just place both hands on your belly or both hands on the ground. And then beginning to feel your breath all the way into the belly. We're going to start to cultivate a 3-part breath this morning. So if you like, again, you can place your hands on your belly, becoming aware of that breath all the way down into the lowest part of your lungs. So diaphragm is expanding, the belly is pushing out. And then drawing inward. Breathing into the belly, feel your belly expand. And exhale, and the belly softens. Breathing in and breathing out. And then once you get comfortable with this, breathing into the belly, feel the breath rise into your ribs and your chest. Maybe moving one hand to the chest and one hand on the belly. Feeling the fullest expression of your breath, breathing into your belly, into your ribs, and into your chest. And if you find it difficult to take a deep breath this morning, maybe just taking little sips of breath in through your nose, breathing in a little bit more, and a little bit more, and then exhaling the breath out. So that first sip of breath, feeling the expansion in your belly, the second one in your ribs, the third one in your chest, and then exhaling the breath out. So another way you might try breathing this morning. There's no right or wrong, just sensing the breath, filling your lungs from the bottom to the top. And exhaling again from bottom to top. And as you do this, begin to feel the rhythm of your breath. Doesn't have to match mine. What is the natural rhythm of your breath this morning? Breathing into belly, into ribs, into chest. Maybe pausing at the top of the breath. And then breathing out from the belly, the ribs, the chest, and pausing. Taking one more breath here. And exhaling out. And releasing the hands down, rolling the shoulders, maybe a couple of times, just opening up the shoulders. We're going to start with some neck and shoulder opening, just to warm up for the practice. And I thought we would do Brahma Mudra for the neck this morning. So again, if you like to take the hand mudra, you're welcome to. It's not required, but tucking your thumbs into your hands and wrapping your fingers around the thumbs, and then placing the backs of the hands together so the palms are face up, softening through your shoulders and your elbows. This is Brahma Mudra. And we're going to open up the neck a little bit. So we're going to turn the head in all directions. Remember, be mindful with your, especially with neck and back issues. So we'll take a breath in, and then we're going to exhale to the left, inhale to center, exhale to the right, inhale to center. We'll look up, come back to center, and take the chin down to the chest. I'm going to add sound with this. This is the full Brahma Mudra. If you're uncomfortable using sound, you can just do the head movements. But it definitely helps to add the sound. So we're going to exhale ah to the left. Inhale to center. Exhale O to the right. Inhale to center. Exhale E as we lift our chin. Exhale to center, and exhale as we take the chin to the chest, and inhale to center. I went through that really quickly, but we're going to do it slowly. So if you didn't quite get that, that's okay. Just practice with me now. So first let's exhale the breath out. And then inhale. Exhaling left. Inhale to center. Exhale to the right. Inhale to center. Exhale up. Inhale to center. And exhale. Inhale to center. Let's do that one more time now that we know what we're doing. Inhale to center. Exhale and just notice how you feel. Release the hands, maybe wiggle the fingers. Circle your wrists. Opposite way. Take your fingertips to your shoulders. We're going to circle the elbows forward, up, back, and down, starting to get into the shoulders a little bit more deeply. And reverse, go the opposite way. And then release the arms down by your sides and shake it out. We're going to start to come up to all fours, but as we start that transition, maybe lifting up, and I'm going to turn around quite a bit so you can see. Maybe tucking the toes under if that's comfortable for your feet, giving a little stretch since we've been sitting on the feet. Maybe you've been sitting on yours. So tucking under, giving a little stretch here to the plantar fascia. Again, we all have different bodies. If you have bunions on your feet or something, this may or may not feel comfortable. You can make it less intense by walking your hands forward, taking the weight of your hips off your heels. You can take it more intense by sitting up with your toes tucked under. And then let's add a little stretch for the wrists and the shoulders and the hands. Pressing the hands out, interlacing your fingers. Breathing in, lifting up. This is optional if you're sitting on your toes. You can always untuck the toes. Exhale the hands down. Inhale to press up. And exhale down. One more breath in, stretching up. And exhale to release the arms down. We'll come into Chatuspada, all fours, knees hip width apart. Feel free to add some padding under your knees. If you have arthritis in your hands, you might try using fists or coming down to forearms or even staying seated. We're going to do a little bit of the cat-cow movements. So coming in as we inhale from here, remember that 3-part breath that's going to assist this movement. So as you inhale into your belly, into your ribs, into your chest, looking forward, lifting your sternum away from your navel, and then exhale the breath out, belly, ribs, chest. Feel for drawing the belly in rather than taking a deep rounding here. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest, looking forward, lifting the sternum away from the navel. Exhaling, drawing the belly in. Inhaling into the cow posture, Vinyasana. And exhaling into Marjariasana. I'll show it from the side. Inhaling. And you're doing this with your breath at your pace. Exhaling, belly, ribs, and chest. So we'll add on here, inhaling, looking forward, lifting the sternum away from the navel. And this time as you exhale, start to sink your hips back towards your heels into Dharmakasana, or some people call this the child's pose. Maybe you bring your forehead down. Maybe your hips come back to your heels. Maybe not. If they're a little tighter, you might be kind of hanging out in midair. That's okay. We're going to move back and forth here. Inhaling back up into the cow posture, looking forward. Exhale, start to engage your abdominal muscles as you sink your hips back towards your heels. And one more time, inhaling into Vinyasa and exhaling back. And then inhaling to lift up onto your knees, standing on the knees. Exhale, hands to your heart. Take a moment, notice if you need to pad up your knees if you haven't already. I'm going to turn to face you. I've got a rug under my mat, so if you need a little extra padding, grab that now. Knees are in line with the hips. So from here, we're going to go ahead and sit back on the heels. Inhaling 3-part breath, and then we're going to exhale, and we're going to do Mukha Bhastrika. So we're going to blow that breath out through the mouth. So it goes breathing in. And then to come up, you're going to inhale, belly, ribs, chest, lifting up, and exhale. Just letting your arms rest by your sides. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest, and exhale. Do that one more time. Letting your arms rest by your sides. I'm only lifting up so you can hear me. If this feels good, maybe you pause here. Let your head rest. If it doesn't come all the way down, you could use a block under your head if you happen to have one, or a folded blanket, and reach your hands back and touch your feet if you can, which is really nice for the vagus nerve, creating this closed circuit here. If you're uncomfortable here, if your hips are rather tight, you might try taking your knees wider apart, or you could stack your hands and rest your forehead that way. But again, a nice way to ground your body. If this is really not appropriate for you with the knees, you could also come onto your back and draw your knees in this way. Be rocking side to side and finding the posture that works for you this morning. Take a couple more breaths. Remember, you can stay here as long as you like. It's a really nice posture for grounding. And then when you're ready to come out, slowly lift back up, bringing the head up, inhaling that 3-part breath. We're going to come back to all fours just briefly, and I'm going to offer an opportunity to come into what many call downward facing dog or Adho Mukha Svanasana. In some traditions, this is a Meru Asana, the mountain pose. So just a couple of cautions. As you come into it, the head goes below the heart, so technically it's an inversion. If you have glaucoma, don't do this posture. You can do it at the wall where your head stays in line with your heart. You could also if you have high blood pressure that's not treated, if it's really high. Again, high blood pressure, be mindful of your own body. If it's treated, you're medicated, this might be fine for you. So always listen to your body. So hands are going to be a little bit ahead of the shoulder. So rather than directly in line with, walk them forward a little bit, spread the fingers wide, root down through the base of your index finger and your thumb. Tuck the toes under. One thing you might do if you don't want to invert is take a deep breath, come into your cow posture, looking forward, sternum away from the navel, and then exhaling, start to push the mat away and just lift your knees off the mat. Using your core muscles, play with that. So you can see my head still pretty much in line with my heart. And then you can place the knees back down. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, draw the belly in. Lift your knees off the mat. You could practice with that, or you can come to the wall, come to standing with your hands at the wall and come into your version of Meru Asana or downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So otherwise,
We lift the knees up, maybe come up all the way onto the balls of the feet, let the head come down. Stretch the legs. The first time we're stretching our legs today might feel really good. You can start to sink your heels down towards the floor. Let me get my little blanket out of the way. Adjusting as you need to, really lifting the hips high. Nice stretch for the back, the backs of the legs. Some people like to pedal their feet here. Again, make it your own. You can even twist your heels a little side to side if that feels good. Lifting those hips up high, sinking the heels back. Maybe you come back down to child's pose, Dharmaka Asana if you need to. Let your head hang, let your neck release. Keep the tricep muscles engaged back and apart. And then as you feel ready, we're going to step to mountain pose. So you could step forward, or you could walk your hands to your feet. That's how I like to come up, bending the knees as I bring my hands closer, nice and slow. So really taking care of my lower back. And then I like to come to hands to the thighs, knees bent, slowly coming up with a flat back. I'm just going to adjust my camera slightly. Actually, I think it's pretty good for getting my body into this screen here. So coming to mountain pose, you can be at the top of your mat. I'm going to step back just so you can see me better. Mountain pose, feet hip width apart. Take a moment to maybe lift up on the heels a couple of times or shake out the legs. Wiggle the knees, relax the shoulders and the arms. Take a deep breath in, exhale it out. Let's take a little side stretch. We haven't done that yet. So inhaling the right arm up and exhale, take a little stretch to the left, stretching the right side of the body. You can let that left arm slide down, or you can hold it at your waist, or maybe even take both hands together and stretch. What feels good to you? Root down through your right foot. Breathe in and exhale. Inhale to come up and exhale that arm down. Notice the difference in sides. We'll breathe in, taking the left arm up and exhale over to the right. Same thing, one arm, slide the right arm down, take both arms, lots of options. What feels good for you this morning? Root down through your left foot and come up with an in-breath. Let the breath lift you up, exhale the arm down. Let the breath move you. Relax the shoulders back and down, mountain pose. Drawing the belly in, lengthening through the tailbone. We're going to do a little bit more for stretching our back muscles. So again, be really mindful here. If you have any issues, chronic low back pain is something many of us deal with. You might notice that back bending feels good for your back. You might notice that forward bending feels good. Maybe they don't feel good. So we're taking this nice and slow, feeling in for what feels nice for us this morning. So as we come into a back bend, we're going to begin with the heels of our hands right at the back of the pelvis or the top of your hips, and squeezing your shoulder blades towards each other, squeezing the elbows towards each other. As you inhale, lift your sternum. So thinking about that Vinyasa, the cow posture, sternum away from the navel, lift up. You don't have to take your head way back. Be mindful of your neck. So for some folks, that might feel fine, right? Coming way back. For others, not so much. You can just look forward. Be where you are. Take it slowly, gently. And then as you exhale, remember belly, ribs, chest, start to come up and slide your hands forward down your thighs, coming into this half fold. So stretching the spine long, coming forward with a flat back, not going any further than this the first time. Feel the stretch in the backs of your legs, the length in your spine. You might take your hands down a little farther, especially if you have long arms. So again, remember, everybody's different. And then as you inhale, look forward, come all the way back up. As we do this, be really mindful that we're not straining the neck. You may, if you have blocks, you can certainly use them to bring your hands down. If you don't want to use the legs, you can have your hands to the blocks. But we're going to do that a couple more times. So from mountain pose, moving slowly. We don't want to get dizzy. So taking the heels of the hands to the back of the pelvis, squeezing the shoulder blades, lift the sternum, inhale here. As you exhale, all the breath out, slide the hands down. Maybe they come a little lower this time. Some of you might be able to touch your feet. You could also take a little bend to the knees. And then as you're ready, inhale, come all the way back up and exhale here. Again, really mindful, if you are going to forward fold and bring the head down below the heart, you're inverting. So you don't want to do that, particularly if you have glaucoma. So inhale, lift your sternum, coming into that back bend. Some of you might even take your hands down onto the legs, keep squeezing the shoulder blades towards each other. Be mindful of the neck. Maybe you don't take the head back. Exhale, sliding the hands down the legs. One more time. Maybe you touch your toes. Maybe it feels good to invert. If you feel dizzy or again have any of those contraindications, don't bring the head below the heart. You can always stay half lifted with your blocks or with your legs. And then bending your knees softly. Let's come up with a flat back. Inhale to rise. Exhale, hands to your heart. Deep breath in. Exhale it out. So I'm going to do a couple of classic sun salutations. And I'm not going to modify too much for these. You can decide if you want to do these or not. It's a great way to continue to warm up the body. So actually, before we do that, we're going to step back into a high lunge. So from your mountain posture, deep breath in, exhale it out. And then with your hands grounding your hips here, take a step back with your right foot. Let's find a high lunge with the heel lifted. If for any reason you can't lift up your heel, you can step the foot in a little bit and have your heel down. It's more of a warrior one or Virabhadrasana one with the hips forward. So feel for that, hip, heel up or down. Inhaling, reaching the arms. So here we are, maybe the heel's up in a high lunge. Again, if you feel you need that sense of grounding, hands to the hips or to the front thigh. And then as you exhale, we're going to bring the hands down. Maybe use blocks here if you have them. If you don't, no worries. Let's scoot that foot forward a little bit. Finding a low lunge here, or runner's lunge rather. And then inhaling, looking forward. As you exhale, we're going to straighten that front leg as much as possible. Maybe you step the back foot in a little bit. So as you inhale, bending your front knee, looking forward, be mindful that your knee doesn't go out way over your toes. It might go a little bit forward because we're just stretching back and forth here, but you don't want to put a lot of pressure on that front knee. Exhale, straighten the front leg. Inhale and bend, letting the hips shift forward, looking forward. Take your time with this movement. We're just warming up the legs a little bit. Exhale, try to straighten the front leg. It may not straighten all the way. Don't force it. Don't lock your knee if you're hyper flexible or hypermobile. And then again, inhale back to your lunge. And we'll exhale, step that back foot forward. Inhale here in the half lift. Exhale, soft bend to the knees and come all the way up. Big breath in. Exhale, hands to your heart. Breathe in. Breathe out. We're going to do that on the other side. So from standing mountain, step your left foot a big step back, coming into a lunge with the heel up, hips forward. Or if you have any issues with your balance or with your foot, you might just keep that back heel down, turning the hips forward. And then again, if you need more grounding, hands to the hips or the front thigh. If you're ready to reach up, you can reach the arms up. So here I'm going to come back to the lunge. And then exhale, hinge forward. Keep your abdominals engaged. Maybe you bring your hands to blocks or to the floor and start to straighten your front leg. So we're shifting the hips back. Inhale, bend the knee back to your lunge. You might have to adjust the length of your back foot back a little bit depending on how long your legs are. Exhale and straighten the front leg. Again, we're not locking the front knee. Maybe it stays slightly bent. We're just warming up the legs here a little bit. Inhaling, bending that front knee, looking forward. And exhaling and straightening. Inhaling to bend, looking forward. And exhale to straighten. Inhale to look forward. And we're going to step that back foot forward, keeping the knees bent, the hips low. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale it out. Soft bend to your knees. Inhale to rise. Flat back. Exhale, hands to your heart. So moving forward now through 2 sun salutations, following along with me as best you can. Stopping anytime you need to. Inhale to lift your arms, lengthen through your spine. Maybe you even reach back like we did a few moments ago. And then as you exhale, hinge from your hips. Keep the back flat. Bringing the hands down. We're going to step the right foot back. So you can always use blocks if you need to. Bringing that right knee down, this time into a low lunge. Inhale here. Maybe you reach the arms. Maybe you bring the hands to the thigh. We're going to move really slowly through this sun salutation. You can stop and breathe. Feel the stretch in the right thigh. As you're ready, using blocks or not, hands down to the floor. We're going to tuck that back toe under and step the left foot back, coming into that downward facing dog. Remember, if you don't want to invert, don't invert. You could always come down to a child's pose here. And then as you inhale, we're going to start to shift the hips forward towards a plank posture. Bring those knees down, looking forward. As you exhale, lower your chest and your chin to the floor. And then release your belly down, untuck your toes. With your hands under your shoulders, shoulders back away from the ears, pressing down through the pelvis. The legs are fairly close together. Hug the outer ankles in. Inhale, lift up into a cobra pose, Bhujangasana. Maybe it's a baby cobra. Feeling this in the upper back. You should be able to even lift your hands, but you can bring them back down and press a little bit, come up a little higher. And then as you exhale, draw the belly in, lift back up, maybe to all fours or to the mountain, the Meru Asana or downward facing dog, or you might know it. And then we're going to step forward with the right foot. So inhaling to look forward, step that right foot forward. Bring the left knee down this time. Maybe hands to the thigh or reaching the arms. And then exhaling the hands down. Tucking the back toes, step the back foot forward. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen your spine, just like we did before with that forward fold. And then exhale, soften through the knees, press down through your feet. Inhale to rise, exhale, hands to your heart. So let's do that one more time, stepping back with the left leg this time. Inhale, reaching the arms. Maybe a little back bend here. Think about length in your spine, lifting and lengthening all the vertebrae. Great stretch for the spine. Exhale with that same long spine, hinging forward from your hips. Hands come down, bend your knees, step your left foot back. All that happens with that exhale. Bring the left knee down. When you're ready, inhale, lift up any amount, maybe just to your thigh. Maybe you reach your arms today. Take your time. Exhaling the hands down. Tucking that back toe under. We're going to come back to that mountain pose. Remember, you can always just come back to table. If you're not inverting, you can come to mountain pose. As we inhale, we're going to shift those hips forward to the top of a plank pose. Bring the knees down, look forward, lower your chest and your chin. And then come all the way down to the belly, untuck the toes. Roll those shoulders back away from the ears and start to lift into your low cobra. Maybe you come up a little higher this time. As you exhale, use your abdominals, draw your belly in, tuck your toes, come back to Mero Asana. Hugging the outer triceps back and apart. And then we're going to step forward this time with the left foot. So inhale, look forward, step forward, right knee down, bring the hands to the front thigh or inhaling up. Lots of options for modifying here. And then exhaling those hands down, step your back foot forward. Bending through your knees. Let's go ahead and take soft knees and go ahead and inhale. Come all the way up and exhale, hands to your heart. Take a moment to pause and just check in with your breath, with your body. And I'm going to check in with our time. Okay, so. Okay, let's come into a couple of standing postures. I think I'll lead my mat this direction. From your standing mountain pose, so feet hip width apart, we're going to step that right foot back again. So as you step back, make sure that your feet are still hip width apart this way, right? And then you can bring the heel down this time. We're going to straighten the front leg. You might actually step the foot back in a little bit. We're going to come into the pyramid posture. So hips, pause for a moment. Make sure the hips are both facing front. We're going to hold onto the forearms in this posture. So grab your forearms. You could also grab, interlace your hands. Think about drawing the shoulders back and apart. Back towards each other. Not back and apart, towards each other. Squeeze the shoulders. Inhale, lift your sternum. And as you exhale, draw your belly in. Think about lifting your knee with your quadricep here. Don't lock your knee. Again, everyone has different amounts that can come forward. You might be more lifted. You might come into it more as you breathe. Stretching that hamstring. Some of you might be able to bring your forehead toward your knee. Others of us might be halfway forward. Tuck your chin slightly, lengthen through your neck. Draw the belly in. Breathe, don't hold your breath. Think about drawing your left hip back and your right hip forward. And then inhale to come up. Exhale, releasing your arms, step your back foot forward, come back to mountain pose. Pause and breathe anytime you need to. From here, we're going to go to the other side, stepping the left foot a big step back. The heel's going to be down this time. Feel for the hips facing front, hip points facing front. Both legs are going to be straight for this. So you might adjust how far apart your feet are, and keep them hip width apart. So grabbing the forearms, lifting your heart, take a deep breath, As you exhale, starting to hinge forward from the hips. Feel for that. Feel for drawing your right hip back and your left hip forward. Be mindful you're not locking that front knee. Use the quadricep muscles to lift the kneecap. If you want to take the version with blocks, you're welcome to do that. It takes out that upper back stretch a little bit. But you can always come to that version as well. Any other version that you know of. If you want to take the reverse prayer hands, you could do that as well. Again, some people can bring their forehead to the knee, but certainly that's not necessary. Some of us might be much more lifted. Feeling that stretch in the hamstring, drawing the right hip back and the left hip forward. As you're ready, we'll come up on an in-breath. Slowly, slowly, slowly coming up. Exhale, release the arms, soften through the knee. Step that back foot forward. Pause. In mountain pose, notice how you feel. Notice how things are changing. Thinking about the weather in your mountain. Is it different from when you started? And then from here, we're going to come into stepping the long way on your mat. So coming into the wide leg mountain or Utthita with your toes pretty much forward. You can lift your toes, lifting your arches, especially if you have flat arches like me, lifting your toes, placing them down. If you like using a block, you can have a block. We're going to come into triangle or Trikonasana. So let's start by turning the right toes out. If you're going to use a block, have it by your ankle. And the back foot, you can play with that a little bit. You might turn the left toes in a little bit and start to bend that front knee. So just notice keeping your knee in line with your ankle, not going out over your toes. That'll help you determine if you need to slide that foot forward a little bit. Technically, we're in Warrior 2 here, Virabhadrasana 2. Taking a deep breath, let's pause in warrior posture first. Draw the belly in. Lengthen through your arms. Feel for that strength here. Fearlessness. See if we feel a little more grounded here. And then straightening that front leg. You may have to shorten the distance between your feet a little bit. So just feeling for that. Maybe you start to come into triangle, which I'll take you into in a moment, and then you come back up and you think, I need to shorten that space between my feet. So feel free to play around with this. So we want to think about length here in the side body. Let's inhale and reach the arms up. So both sides of the body are long. And then as you exhale, we're again going to hinge from the hips. I like to keep my left hand at my hip. Reach that right arm, so right side long, and then bringing it down wherever you can. You might even use a chair here. Maybe don't come that far forward, or bring your hand right inside of your thigh. Some people can come lower, hand inside the leg, spinning the chest open. Maybe you take your hand to the block if you have a block. Some people can reach the floor, but again, we all have different length arms, legs, etc. Be mindful as you open from the chest. This is a big hip opener. So if you're feeling pain or strain here, then come back up. Don't go so far. You might also play with the angle of that back foot. And then reaching the left arm up. Again, we're not taking this arm way back. We're just lifting it up. You might even try lifting out of the posture. So Trikonasana, the shoulders are stacked, the ribs are stacked, the hips are stacked. Big breath in. And exhale. Now, head in line with the spine, neck long. You can stay here and look forward. You might look down towards your foot. You might do the full posture looking up, a little bit harder on the neck. So always be mindful of your neck. When you're ready to come up on an in-breath, lifting all the way back up. Exhale, release the hands, maybe bend at the front knee, give a little release to your leg, and then straighten again, turn your toes forward. Come back to Utthita. Soften through your shoulders. The arms are tired. You can just leave the hands to the heart. Breathe. We're going to go to the other side. So turning the left toes out and the right toes in a little bit, starting to bend the knee there. So just feeling for your feet still hip width apart. How do the hips feel? Centering yourself here, making sure that knee doesn't go out past your toes. And maybe pausing for a moment to rest. Is this a restful posture? Warrior two. Soften through your shoulders, draw your belly in. Step into your own power. How does this feel? Notice any sense of being stable and steady. Drawing your belly in. And then go ahead and straighten that front leg. Relax the arms for a moment. You might have to shorten the distance between your feet. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Extend both sides of the body from the waist up to the fingertips. And then as you exhale, we're going to start to hinge from the hip. You can leave the right hand down if you like, so you can focus just on that left side, bringing the left hand down inside the leg. Maybe you have a block here, and the hand is to the block. Keeping this knee straight but not locked. Again, hand could be inside the leg if you don't have a prop, or even on a piece of furniture. And then reaching the right arm up. Keeping the gaze forward or down or all the way up, rotating the head. But if that doesn't feel good on your neck, and it often does not on mine, so I like to keep my gaze forward or down, or even tucking the chin, doing a little Jalandhara Bandha here. The throat lock is nice. Holding the posture for a few breaths, noticing what you're experiencing. Where do you feel this in the body? Coming up when you need to. Come up with an in-breath. So when you're ready, inhale to come all the way up. And exhale, soft bend to the knee. Release the knee, maybe release the arms. Straighten that front leg, turn the toes forward. Step your feet back in, not quite to mountain pose. We will keep them a little bit wider than hip width apart, and we'll come into our, we call these empty coat arm swing, or the Tibetan swings. Let the arms naturally go side to side. And as you twist, we're twisting here, let that back heel lift off the floor. So you're sort of pivoting on that back foot. Let the arms just be natural. Let the breath be natural. Nice release for all the muscles around the back, the hips. Release of energy through the whole body. If you like, you could take your arms slowly all the way up. Until they touch, and then release them and come all the way back down. And then coming back to center, let's come into one balanced posture while we're still standing. You can come over to a wall for this if you like, or you could use a chair or something to help you balance. So we're going to balance on the right leg first, rooting down through that foot, drawing your belly in. Find your steadiness and stability here. As you're ready, start to bend the left knee so we can come up onto the ball of that foot. From here, again, find steadiness. Keep the right hip engaged. Make sure you're not leaning into it and sticking your hip out. And then just checking in with your balance. See if you can lift that foot off the floor. So finding that steadiness. Maybe you still feel really ungrounded today. Energy feels a little scattered. We're drawing that energy back in. Maybe you place your hands on your belly. You might stay here with your toe on the floor. Checking in with the balance. You could also place your foot on a block and then bring it back down. We're going to open into tree pose. So taking that knee out to the side, there's an opening here of the hip. Again, keeping the big toe on the floor, holding onto a wall if you need to for balance, or maybe bringing the hands to the heart. Once you find steadiness there, you could try bringing your foot to the shin, the sole of the foot to the shin. Once you find steadiness there, you could try bringing the sole of the foot to your inner thigh. Some of you may have a deeper practice. You might be able to bring the foot all the way across with the knee down into the half lotus. But again, we're not teaching that today, just letting you know you can practice as you need to. There's a sense of pressing that foot into the thigh and the thigh pressing back. Just make sure that your foot's not on your knee. Keep rooting down through that right foot. Maybe inhaling and taking the arms overhead. You could also still be holding on to that wall. And exhaling the hands to the heart. So we can do a little Kriya here, inhaling the arms, lengthening through the shoulders to the fingertips, and exhaling. And inhaling. And exhaling. When you're ready, releasing the posture, marching through those legs, shake out that standing leg. And we'll come around to the other side. So you might want to turn around. I'm just going to stay facing you, rooting down through that left foot, drawing the belly in. Feel that sense of rootedness first. Maybe taking the hands to the belly. Start to bend the right knee. Your balance may be different on one side than the other. Make sure you're not leaning into your hip. So firming the outer hip in. Feel for lifting your knee off the floor. Or lifting your foot off the floor. Bringing that foot back down. Maybe you stay with the toe on the ground today. Opening the knee out to the side, opening the hip. Again, root down through the left foot, draw the belly in. There's that sense of lifting up. Hands to the heart. Once you're steady here, then trying foot to the shin. Again, that might be where you work today. Or if you want, sole of the foot to the inner thigh. My left foot is definitely less sturdy than the right. I had foot surgery many years ago. I'm not as steady on this foot. Feel for hugging that left hip in. If you want to come into the Kriya, inhaling the arms and exhaling. Inhaling the arms and exhaling. Inhaling the arms. Exhaling. Releasing the leg, shake out that standing leg. Maybe wiggling the knees back and forth. And we're going to come back down to the floor. So from your standing mountain, inhale to reach the arm. Exhale to hinge forward. So head in line with the heart, or if you want to come into the full fold, take care of your body. Inhale, lift up halfway, lengthen your spine. And then we'll bend the knees, bring the hands on either side of the feet. You can always use blocks here. Start to step one leg back and then the other, coming back to Chatuspada or all the four-footed posture. Inhale here into your cow posture, looking forward, Vinyasana. Exhale, tuck the toes, maybe lift up to downward facing dog. This is just an option. You could also come back to child's pose. Inhale forward to your plank. Knees come down, look forward, slowly lower all the way down. We're going to do some back bending here. Let's take a moment to pause and rest. Stack your hands, rest your forehead, wiggle the hips side to side. So in these back bending postures, give myself a little more room because I have long legs. So the first thing you might want to do is lift up your left leg and see if you can imagine lengthening it. So imagine that we're reaching that leg bone out of the socket, making it longer. And then same thing on the other side, lift that right leg up, make it longer. Wiggle the hips a little bit so you feel a sense of symmetry. And then the toes are untucked. Feel for legs together or hip width apart or a little closer. And then hugging the outer ankles in. So your leg muscles are engaged here. And then we're going to bring the hands down by the side. So you could either turn your head to the side for a moment, or you can bring your forehead down if that's comfortable. Feel for rolling your shoulders back and down and inhaling and just lifting your head and your chest. Feel for that. So we're going to come into Locust or Shalabhasana. I'm not taking my head way back, but I am looking forward. So be mindful of the neck here as well. Just lifting the head and the chest. The hands are down. The feet are down. And then exhale and lower. Again, anytime you want to, you can rest with your hands stacked. We're going to go ahead and lift the legs one at a time. I have to make sure that my couch is not in the way. So from here, traditionally, we would have the head forward on the chin. If that's not comfortable in your neck, you might keep your arms down and just lift the legs that way, alternating right and left. I'm going to do the chin posture. So arms at the side. As you inhale, again, think about lifting that right leg and lengthening it. And then exhaling that leg down. Alternating, inhale, the left leg lifts. And exhale it down. And we'll do that 2 more times. Again, maybe your hands are here and you're just lifting the legs this way. It could also be in cactus. Only lifting the legs as much as it feels comfortable for your low back. And then relaxing for a moment. So we're going to try lifting both legs together. You might want to just go back to the single leg lift. Remember, you can go back to anything we've done previously. And one way to do this is to take the hands, placing them palms up, the tops of your thighs, and the elbows actually come underneath of you. So feeling for that. Some people even like to use fists. I'm just going to keep the palms up. And then again, the chin comes down. If this isn't comfortable on your neck, don't try it this way. As you inhale, lifting both legs, any amount. You could tell mine don't go that far. I have low back issues. And exhaling down. And try it with the fists. And exhaling down. I'm going to release the hands back out, rest the forehead, and even wiggle your forehead a little bit side to side. And then arms by your side. As you inhale, again, coming into that little lift, lifting just your head and your chest, looking forward. Maybe lifting one leg, maybe lifting both legs. Feel for that. Rooting down through the pelvis, shoulders away from the ears. And exhaling, bringing the legs down, bringing your forehead down. We'll do it one more time. This time, maybe lifting the arms as well. So taking your time. As you inhale, lifting your head and your chest. Maybe lifting your legs. Maybe lifting the arms. If you want to clasp your hands behind you and lift up that way, you could do that as well. And then releasing everything back down. Letting go, resting. Resting your forehead on your hands. You can wiggle the hips side to side. as you feel ready, we're slowly going to roll over and come up to sit. I am going to just come a little bit closer here with my mat. I think I'm still on the camera. All right, so we're gonna, this class is gonna be a little bit longer than an hour. So let's go ahead and come on to our backs. There we go. Knees bent and feet hip width apart. So we'll come into a bridge posture. And then I'll give an option for taking the legs up, and then we'll come into final rest. So actually we'll do a little twist too. So feel for, and you actually can physically check ankles under your knee, in line with your knees. Knees are hip width apart, feet are hip width apart. If the feet are really far away from you, it's going to be really hard to lift your hips up. So walk those feet in to start, arms by your side, palms face down. And then maybe just taking a couple of preparatory lifts. So as you inhale, we're going to root down through your feet. And as you press down through your feet, feel how your hips want to lift. Lifting your spine and reaching the arms overhead. And then as you exhale, soften your belly, ribs, chest, bringing the hips down. Bring the arms down. Root down through your feet. Inhale, lift your hips, lift your spine. Reach your arms. As you exhale, soften through the belly, ribs, chest, bringing those hips down. Bring the arms down. So third time, let's leave the arms down. Root down through your feet. Inhale, lift the hips, lift the spine. Maybe walk your shoulders underneath if you're able to. You might just turn the palms up today. Maybe you bend from the elbows, palms facing each other. Maybe you clasp your hands. Walk the shoulders underneath. Coming into your bridge lift, Setubandha. Mindful of the neck here. Lifting the chest for the chin to the sky. When you're ready to release, slowly roll the spine back down. Let your hips rest. Let your shoulders, maybe wiggle them out a little bit. We'll try that one more time. I'll give an option for coming up onto the head. Don't do this if you have any issues with your neck. So you can just repeat what we just did. You can have the option of taking the hands underneath, clasping, or the palms up. So again, rooting down through your feet. As you inhale, lift the hips, the spine. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you. So let's start with, like, something's not right here. Let's take the hands. If you're going to lift up onto your head. Now, if you can't bend at your wrist with your palm flat, you're also not going to want to do this. Just repeat what we just did. Because you're going to take your fingers and place your hands, my braid is in the way, place your hands under your shoulders with the elbows lifting up towards the ceiling. So right away, if that does not feel comfortable to you, just leave the hands down and repeat what we just did. Otherwise, root down through your feet. And as you inhale, start to lift your hips, come up onto the top of the head, and come into this version of Setubandha. And then to come out, gently bring your head back down, roll your spine back down. Relaxing the neck, relaxing your shoulders. Let your knees fall together. You take your feet a little bit wider apart. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let your body rest. Let's draw the knees into the chest. Rock a little bit side to side. We'll come into a little spinal twist here. Taking the arms out to the side as you exhale. Take your knees over to the right. Try to keep the left shoulder down. So if the knees don't want to come all the way over, you could place a folded blanket or a pillow underneath to bring the floor up to the knees. Coming back to that 3-part breath, breathing into the belly, into the ribs, into the chest. And as you exhale, softening through the belly and the ribs and the chest. Option to turn your head away from the knees, so towards the left, looking towards your hand. Sometimes that can help the shoulders stay down, but if that's uncomfortable for your neck, just gazing toward the ceiling. Always being mindful of the neck, especially the neck and the lower back. We put so much pressure on our low back when we lift things incorrectly. So many things we do that injure the back. And then the neck, the same thing when we're looking down at cell phones and computers, car accidents, so many things that can injure our neck. So be super, super careful and loving to your spine. It's never worth injuring yourself trying to be into a posture either. So always going into and coming out of posture slowly. When you're ready, we're going to bring those knees back to center. And actually, in coming into these twists, it can be helpful to just leave your feet on the floor. Shift your hips in the opposite direction. So we're going to go to the left. We're going to shift the hips to the right and bring the knees over to the left this time. And again, if they don't stay together on the floor like that, like mine are, you might lift the knees up and place a pillow underneath or block if you have it. And then stretching that right arm out, trying to keep the right shoulder down. You might take your gaze to the right or just straight up to the ceiling. Take a deep breath into your belly and exhale it out. Feel the breath starting to slow back down. Releasing into this final spinal twist. And then gently bringing these back to center. We're going to do one more posture today, and I'm going to give you 3 options. Taking the legs up. So again, being mindful. The safer way to do this, if you've got glaucoma or you're dealing with really high blood pressure, you might even just put your legs on a chair, keeping the knees bent instead of extending them. One way you can do this, if you're okay with coming into an inversion, is just straightening the legs up and feeling for that, lengthening through the legs. So in this way, my hips are not above my heart. I'm really just letting some blood flow come back down. I'm stretching my legs. Any other version you want here, if you want to take the legs wide. Now, if you want to come into a version of shoulder stand and you have a block, you could, just like we did in bridge pose, root down through your feet, lift your hips, place that block underneath on the low or medium height, and then start to draw your knees in and extend the legs up. But even here, the hips are lifted above the heart, so you don't want this pressure on your eyes if you have glaucoma. So just being mindful of that. And then lastly, if shoulder stand is something that's in your practice, you may want to take a blanket and place that under your back so that your shoulders are going to be on the blanket and your head will be off the blanket. And don't try this for the first time, but if shoulder stand is in your practice and you want to come into it now, then you could start to lift the legs up, taking your hands to your hips or your pelvis, coming into the shoulder stand. And maybe coming into Janu Shirshasana, exhaling and drawing your right knee in. And inhaling. And exhaling. And inhaling. So if this isn't part of your practice, just coming to one of the first ones that I did. And then releasing down when you're ready to. And then left leg, exhaling. And inhaling. Exhaling. And inhaling. There's a reason I offer a variety of options. Don't try this for the first time since I'm not really breaking it down. Exhaling and bending both knees in towards the nose. Inhaling and straightening. I like to do this to complete my practice. So that's why I'm doing it now. And then slowly releasing back down, not coming down. So if your hips are up on that block, you're going to lift up, take that block out, and release down. Let the knees fall together. Take a moment to rest. And then we're going to set up for final rest for Shavasana. So but before we do, we're going to do a little Kaya Kriya, so a little movement with the breath and coming back to that 3-part breath, breathing into the belly, the ribs, and the chest for this movement, matching the movement with the breath. So having any props nearby that you like for Shavasana. But first, we're just going to lay on the floor. If this is acceptable for your lower back, stretching the legs long, so it may not feel comfortable. I have taught this before in a chair. It's not quite the same, but anyway, we're going to take the feet a little bit wider apart. Let the arms come out to the side. Turn your palms face down. So you want enough space between your feet that you can turn them in and maybe the toes touch, or some people, they might even come into the floor, but just so the toes touch is fine. And then you might want a blanket to support your head and your neck. So Kaya Kriya, we're going to breathe into the belly and turn the toes in. Exhale and release. Let's do that 2 more times. Breathe into the belly. Turn the toes in. Exhale, release. Breathe in, turn the toes in. Exhale, release. Now breathe into your ribs. Turn the palms up. Exhale, release, and turn the palms down. Breathe into your ribs. Turn the palms up. Exhale, turn the palms down. Breathe in. Turn the palms up. Breathe out. Turn the palms down. And then finally breathing in all the way up to your collarbones. Turn your head to the right, any amount. Exhale the breath out. Turn your head to the left. As you breathe in, turn your head to the right. As you exhale, turn your head to the left. Breathe in, turn your head to the right. Breathe out, turn your head to the left. Now we're going to put all of that together. So we're going to breathe into the belly and we're going to turn the toes in. Breathe into the ribs, turn the palms up. Breathe into the chest, turn the head to the right. As you exhale from the belly, turn the toes out. From the ribs, turn the palms down. From the chest, turn the head to the left. So we'll do that 3 times. Breathing in, belly, toes in, ribs, palms up, chest, head to the right. Breathe out, toes come open, palms down, head turns to the left. So breathing in, breathing out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And you could do that a few more times if you like, or just let your head rest to center. Let your palms rest up or down or just facing the body. Bring the feet in a little closer, maybe touching into Shavasana. If you want to put some support under your knees, you could do that with a pillow or a bolster. Coming to final rest. Taking a moment to get settled. If you need to cover your body to keep warm, you could do that. I'm going to come out of my Shavasana, but you can stay. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of final relaxation. So just taking a moment once you're settled. And again, feeling for all the points of contact between your body and the floor. Taking that full 3-part breath. And as you exhale, let all those points of contact get heavier. Taking a couple of breaths, feeling your breath in your body, just the breath moving the body now. And each time you inhale, feeling that sense of spaciousness coming into the body. And each time you exhale, feel a letting go into ease. Each time you breathe in, nourishing your body with breath. And each time you breathe out, releasing any tension in the body. Letting your arms be heavy. Letting your legs be heavy. Letting the back of your head be heavy and supported. Softening through your shoulders. Softening through your forehead. Allowing a sense of ease to spread through the temples, the muscles of the eyes. And feel that sense of ease spreading down to the cheeks and the jaw muscles. Softening through your jaws. Letting there be space between your teeth. Feel your tongue rest in your mouth. Taking a full breath in. And as you exhale, softening through the muscles of your throat and your neck. Maybe even sighing the breath out. Feel for a release in the intercostal muscles of the ribs.
Shoulder blades softening. Whole back body releasing into the earth. Softening through the muscles of the lower back. Whole spine resting on the floor. Breathing in and breathing out. Feeling the breath like a wave moving through the body and clearing out junk. With each fresh breath in, as you exhale, feel that breath move through the body. You might imagine the breath as light or as clear, fresh water, air, wind, however you might visualize it, clearing out the debris of the body. And just imagine breathing out that debris all the way through the soles of your feet. Imagine breathing in now through the top of the head, the crown of the head, and exhaling the breath all the way down to the soles of the feet. Clearing out the debris. Whatever that is, tension, stress, negative thoughts, worries, pain, whatever you need to let go of. Breathing into the crown of the head and exhaling down to the soles of your feet. And continuing to do this until your whole body is clear. You can stay here and continue this practice for as long as you need to, or rest in Shavasana. Or when you feel ready, you can slowly begin to bring micro movements back into your body, maybe wiggling your fingers, your toes, or circling your wrists and your ankles. Maybe gently turning the head side to side again. And starting to stretch and move in any way that feels comfortable, maybe reaching your arms, stretching one side and then the other. And slowly drawing your knees in as you feel ready and turning over to one side, maybe onto your left side if it's comfortable. And pausing there for a moment on the left side. And breathing in through your right nostril and exhaling it out. Breathing into the right nostril and exhaling it out. And when you feel grounded and steady and ready, and only when you feel grounded, you can start to walk yourself up with your hands, letting your head and your neck be the last things to come up. And finding a comfortable position to sit. Maybe that's cross-legged, maybe it's a lotus position, maybe it's Vajrasana or in a chair. Bringing the hands together at the heart, Anjali Mudra. Sitting with a long spine. Take a moment to check in again and notice how you feel. You might close your eyes or just soften your gaze. Take this time to check in and notice if anything has shifted in your body, your mind, in your breath, your emotions, or your level of energy. Taking a deep breath to lift the heart as you exhale, bowing the mind to the heart. Honor yourself for taking this time to practice, taking this precious, sacred time for self-care. Thank you for practicing with me today. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace be with you. Be blessed and be a blessing. Thank you, everybody.